Hello basketball coaches and basketball players, my name is Alan from Al's Basketball Training, and today I'm going to talk to you about some tips for beginner or new basketball coaches. So first off, I've been a coach, or I have coached for many years. I've also played for a ton of years. So these are some tips that I would love to share with new coaches, mainly because there's a lot of coaches right now that are joining this channel that are asking a lot of questions about how to start being a basketball coach and some tips on, for new coaches. So that's what this video is for. So going from there, even if you're not a new basketball coach, some of these tips may interest you. So going from there, first off, when you first make your basketball team, so this is going to be after your tryouts. Actually, let's talk about tryouts first. So if you're just running tryouts right now, some things to look for in a player is work ethic. Are they willing to put in extra effort when you're asking them to? And I test my players by asking them, hey, your next time down the court, I want to see you go 110%. Now, when that player goes down the court, so let's say we're running a 3-on-2, 2-on-1. If he goes down and he's doing the exact same stuff, running the exact same speed as he did before, he doesn't exactly have that extra work ethic that we would be looking at. So then that would be a negative in that portion of the tryout. I like to have basically a big long piece of paper, the players' names. I also have numbers on their legs, so I'd get like a Sharpie and write a number on their leg to correspond with my list. And then going from there, I would have different things that I'm looking for: shooting, defense, rebounding, the ability to box out, different aspects like that. Is he a true post player? Is he doing post moves, or is he looking to go to the low post, versus is he a perimeter player? And I would rank them from 0 to 10, and I would make sure to do that either on an iPad or with a pencil on a piece of paper, because I may erase and re-edit that, let's say, maybe 20, 30, 40 minutes down the road. Now, going from there, once tryouts are finished, we're going to be getting into our first, second, third practices. The first thing I always like to teach my players is not basketball plays. I may have thousands of videos on this channel about, hey, here's a 5-out offense, here's a horns offense, here's a flex, whatever it may be. I actually teach my players drills first. In our first practice, we're doing team drills. Drills that are going to be helping them as a team, learning how to play as a team, but also getting them to start talking to each other, getting them to congratulate each other, basically creating a team atmosphere. In our second, third, and fourth practice, that's when I start adding in individual drills that, hey, we're doing it as a team, but these are things that you can do yourself as well. That way, when they go home, they've got it in their mind, hey, these are some of the drills I can do myself. And I would actually tell them in practice, hey, even though this last drill we just did was in a team format, these are all things that you can do by yourself. Instead of having a coach pass you the ball, you can spin it to yourself, you can do a reverse pivot, you can slash, then you can take 1 to 2 dribbles towards the rim. Whatever it may be, whatever that drill may have been, you can explain that to your players and say, I want you to do this drill. If you have time on a basketball court, I want you to do this drill at home. Whether it be in your driveway, whether it be at open gym in your school, whether it be when you're warming up before our next practice, whatever it may be, this is one of the drills I want you to be working on. And then from there, once we get to our 5th, 6th, 7th practice and going on from there, that's up here, generally all my practices, I've never had a practice less than 2 hours. We would then have the last 30 minutes of our 2-hour practice running plays. The rest of the time is going to be on drills. So, and I always like to have a plan. I always like to write down what my practice is going to look like. Now, if you would like, if you're a new basketball coach or even an older basketball coach, I am making custom basketball plans, basketball practice plans. Go check out the link in the description below. And I can be your coach, your mentor, and also give you custom basketball practice plans so that when you go to your next practice, you don't have to be stressed, especially if you're doing this as a volunteer and you're going to your next practice just coming from work and being like, oh man, what am I going to do? Okay, today we got to work on defense. What are some defense drills? And you have to think of it quickly, but instead I could just email you the practice plan. You could have it there on your phone and you are ready to go, and you're all set. So going from there, once we start doing basically real practices where we have plays at the end, I always like to focus on one thing at a time. So if it's a 2-hour practice, the first 45 minutes we could do, for example, defense. The second 45 minutes we can do shooting, and then we can follow up in the last 30 minutes with plays, whether it be defensive zone schemes that I would like to run or offensive schemes that I would like to run. Now, going from there, if you're coaching a team that is basically grade 7 and under or 12 years old or under, I would only run maybe 2 different sets for man-to-man and 2 different sets for zone if your league allows a zone defense. So then altogether you've got 4 plays, and they should be fairly simple. And then on defense, I like to run 1 or 2 zones, one of them being my Unbeatable basketball defense. That's again in the description below. That's a great defense to run. I like to run that with a 2-3 zone. And then I also like to run a man-to-man defense. I like to start the game in a full court 1-2-1-1. This is just my own strategy. A full court 1-to-1 zone press. And then after 2 times doing the full court press, I like to sit back in the 1-4. Meanwhile, we would have been popping back into a 2-3. Then I like to run the Unbeatable basketball defense, which is a 1-4. Basically gives you a double team from the free throw line and below. And then we'll go from there into a man-to-man defense. And then basically that would be the end of the first quarter. The second quarter, we would start by using a man-to-man defense for the first half, and we would be running a full court man-to-man press defense. The second half of the second quarter, we would sit back, we would not be pressing anymore, and we would now be running just our Unbeatable basketball defense, the 1-4. Now, I'm not going to get into the third quarter, fourth quarter, but these are just some of the schemes that I like to run as an example on what we would like to practice. So, if you've got 2 practices a week, then you can go and do, let's say it's a Tuesday and a Thursday, just for hypothetical planning. Let's say you got your Tuesday and your Thursday. If you're running up against a team that weekend who is a very strong offensive team, you might want to have your defensive plays or your defensive schemes being ran on the Thursday and your offensive schemes being ran in the 30 minutes on the Tuesday. When you bring over to the Thursday, even though we're working on our defensive schemes, I would run some full court drills that would incorporate our offensive plays so that now we're still running full court drills. We're still learning how to play basketball as a team, but we're still learning those plays. Then we can get into our defensive schemes. We can run our own plays against our defensive schemes. And then on the weekend, we would be playing our games. Generally speaking, at least here in North America, you'll have tournaments on the weekend. The biggest tip I can give you as a basketball coach, and this is something that I've ran into issues with myself, and that's why I'm recommending doing this, is going to each one of your players in a players meeting and each one of your parents in a parents meeting and explaining at the beginning of the season, halfway in between the season, and then at the end, what you expect from the players. So at the beginning of the season, have a parents meeting, parents only. All the parents are there. Have them explain what their thought process is for the season, explain what your thoughts are for the season, and what you're looking for in the players. That way you're basically setting the ground floor. If your kids aren't doing this, this, and that, they're going to be sitting on the bench. Meanwhile, for the players, I would do the exact same thing. I would explain to them, hey, I want you guys to work this year. I want you guys to be running the full practice. I want you guys to be also working on your skills at home, which means that time when you're not here in the gym, whether that be small workouts that you can do in your basement or going to the YMCA and working on your skills, maybe getting in a couple of pickup games, whatever it may be. But I want you to be really working hard and showing that you want to improve. And then I want you to be a team player here. There's nothing worse than having a player who is a negative and negative the whole time, whether or not you guys are winning or losing, and dragging the whole team down. So if you're going to be a negative player, you're going to be sitting on the bench and you're going to be basically disassociating yourself from the team. And I would be explaining this to the players at the beginning of the season. Halfway in between the season, I would then talk to the parents and players again, see where they're all sitting, and what their thoughts are on the season so far, same as with the players, and then explain to them your thoughts for the rest of the season. And then at the end of the season, I always like to give my players, hey, this has been a great season, or maybe we haven't won as many games as we thought, but we still had a fantastic season. Here are some of the things that you can do this summer or this winter or wherever your off season is. That some of the things that you can do to improve so that next year you're going to be even better. And then I also like to have my players understanding that grades are also very important, and if their parents say that their grades are not good enough to play for the team, then I am on the parent's side and you need to get your grades up. So keeping that in the forefront as well. Of course, as we all know, no matter if a kid's looking to get a scholarship, no matter what, like I've had friends who were basically huge recruits back when they were in high school, and then when they moved into the grade 11 and 12 range, their grades started to plummet. I don't know what for. I wasn't that close to them. They were going to another school, but their grades plummeted. And then they never got scholarships to the States. And they were in the 4-star, close to 5-star recruit range. They were very good players. 3 of which currently play in the Canadian Basketball League, which is new as of last year. But they could have been much farther if they got their grades up. Anyways, I hope that this video helps all of you new coaches out there. I hope that these tips help you as well. And I hope to see you guys again in our next video, which is later on today, because I post twice per day. Morning for coaches, afternoon for players. I'll see you guys there.